It's Tehachapod time. Maya Acosta joined by, three of our other hosts here. We are missing Ashley, but we have Greg Garrett, Key Budge, Corey Costello all here today. And today is a special occasion. We are celebrating our 500th episode of Tehachapod. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yay!
Pretty exciting.
For 500. Yeah.
Insert the crowd noise in the back, please, and edit on this
I
thing.
think I have that button in here somewhere.
This is season 6. We just kicked off season 6 and 500 episodes, more than 100,000 downloads. It's been a great tool for us to share our message with the community.
Well, Key, it's been an amazing tool. We have our podcasts, we have our press releases, we have our social media. It's just another tool in the tool chest for communicating with our citizens, right? Who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, when we're doing it, all those sorts of things. And we always welcome topics if you have an idea. But this has been beyond my wildest dreams. I'm so proud of what we're able to do here at the city.
Yeah, it took a couple of years, but I know after, right when I was hired in 2017, but
has it been that long?
But yeah, it's been that long. Ooh, you're telling me, you're telling me.
Long.
Goodness,
Wow.
but
my hair was not great. By the way, we're recording, so my hair was not great when you started here. So you're turning me great.
I have an electrifying impact on folks. But Key actually, like on day one, he's like, even though I wasn't doing any communication stuff, but knowing I had a broadcast background, he said, "You can help me convince Greg to do a podcast." And this was in 2017, and it took a couple years to convince, but I think
if Key wants to do something, I do it. So I don't know what he was telling you.
It all started when I interviewed back in 2016. Part of the interview panel, I said, what the city needs to move to is to podcast.
Yeah.
Terrestrial radio is dying. This is the new form of communication. Mm-hmm. And then when Corey came on board, it was kind of like, hey, let's solidify, back me up here. This is something we need to do. We took care of our website, our social media, creating videos. We got those all in place. And then it was time to add this to the portfolio.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there's a city manager memo that's going to be coming out here soon, and it's titled "My Phone Rarely Rings." And what I mean by that is that people don't really like to come to city council meetings or call or different things, but they like, everyone has their own little individual slots, if you will, for gathering information. And when we decided to kind of open our communications department within the city of Tehachapod, nobody was doing that around us. Nobody at all. No government agency especially. And I wanted us to better communicate with the world. And we are there's more to do than we've already done. That's for sure. More to do than we've already done. But certainly it's been a great tool, and we welcome input from the community. And we work for you.
And as data became more available to us understanding the audience in terms of when we really got to get our minds wrapped around the commuting patterns of our community, knowing that they're driving 30, I think the average, I just saw a thing the other day, the average drive time to work around here is about 35 minutes. Mm-hmm. So we know they're going one way off the hill or the other. Yep. So that's why initially, and we still try to stick to that sort of 35, 40 minute time, because when I commuted for a while, I hated having to stop an episode halfway and then wait till the other day to pick it back up. So try to catch it on that one side of the commute, whether it's home or to work, to try to connect with a lot of residents that are spending time in their car.
Well, you can only listen to so many country songs.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You need something to fill.
My Waylon Jennings playlist is getting a little tired, so
and
you got to find more.
We're hoping that you learn something from this, right? Little tidbits from here and there.
Yeah.
Well, and then throughout this journey, through 6 seasons, as Corey said, looking at the data, and we started to see that we had a large female audience. Mm-hmm. And then we started to make some adjustments and said it was the 3 of us. It was Greg, Corey, and myself for the first couple of years. And we had Ashley Whitmore, I'm just so bummed that she couldn't make it in today, that she was a guest on the show. But she did such a great job. And
she was a superstar.
I said, Ash, we need to bring you in. Yeah. And now she gets excited whenever we have TCTA. She loves to be a part of that. Whenever we have anything airport-centric. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's several things that Ashley really likes to be involved in. But we brought Ashley on board. And then when Maya joined the team almost 2 years ago, now we've got a nice blend. We've got men, women, we've got different age demographics represented represented. So I think we really speak to our community. And I think that was part of our evolution to get to where we are here at season 6.
Well, now sometimes you guys record a podcast and I'll find out about it later.
When you listen to it?
Yeah, I listen to all of them. I'm like, well, why didn't you invite me?
Well, you also listen to them on time and a half speed.
Well,
Yes.
no, 1.25.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do-
Yes, if
One-
you're listening in the car,
1.5
you're like,
is
why do
too
we
fast.
sound funny? It's like, oh, because we're talking really fast because Greg's got a 1.25 speed.
I have so much to do, so much on my mind, and but I really enjoy listening to them, and I learn myself
Yeah.
about different things.
And we pulled, several 100,000 downloads in the last 5 years. But when you look, we have individual numbers, and you see a few hundred or maybe even 1,000 on a really good episode, and that obviously doesn't mean we're reaching everybody. Not everybody's downloading the show. However, you got to really think the influence that this has. When you have a couple hundred downloads, that's a couple hundred people who got the information about what's going on, and then when someone asks them about it, they say, "Oh, well, I listened to," and so that information spreads. Just to have when you have 1,000 people or 300 or 400 download a show, they're listening and then they're turning around and they're sharing that information if it comes up to somebody else. So that's kind of the really the part you don't necessarily see is the fact that this kind of it's just like you light a match and they all kind of go, and that's the same thing here. They're all having an influence beyond just the straight download numbers.
I think it's important to realize that traditionally government does not talk about things. They wait until asked a question. And we really changed that, Greg. I mean, it started with you, with your philosophy, bringing me on board, creating this communications department, and being the first to talk about it and not wait for the question. Because if you wait for a question, it looks like, well, you knew all along. Why didn't you tell us?
Yeah.
And now we're out front talking about things. And I think the community appreciates that. So sure, we send press releases out to our newspaper and the local TV stations. And then within the next few days to a week, they print it. But we've already got Maya's created a video talking about whatever that topic is that goes out same day. And the podcast takes a deeper dive into it. It allows us to take Maya's 1-minute video plus the press releases and whatever we put out on social medias and then expand upon it. Especially, as we look back, episode 1 was Senator Shannon Grove with a PSPS town hall, because PSPS was such a big deal in 2019. This is all before as COVID starting to kind of start to shake itself out and before the 15-day shutdown. All of a sudden, we're talking about something that was impacting not only the city of Tehachapi, but the greater Tehachapi area. And we took episode 1 to really highlight that.
Well, and with PSPS, Southern California Edison, Senator Grove, and others, we really took that to a whole different level, and we got SCE's attention. We got everybody's attention. I think about all the podcasts that we've done over the years and other topics, and we can talk about those also. But we facilitated a quicker, more efficient upgrade to our power grid in Tehachapi because of the leadership role that the city of Tehachapi took.
And this form,
No question about it.
And this form is allowed. It's more shareable than, say, a newspaper article, even if that article is posted online. And so with the SCE thing, and we did a follow-up episode, we won an award for that one when we got the SCE brass via Zoom to be on the show to explain what they're doing. But I know in speaking with Cal Rossi, who is our local government affairs rep, that first show was shared through the channels of Edison. He said, "Oh boy, did you guys already start ruffling feathers," because it was being sent corporate wide. And that's when they realized like they had a problem, not just in Tehachapi, but just in their entire sort of PSPS operations plan. And that got them to make some changes communication wise. And then of course, as you said, grid hardening down the road. So from that jump, the show was already being shared, and we did the same with high speed rail and that sort of thing, because it's so shareable, and it's for the most part, evergreen in a lot of cases, that it got sent out and folks were listening. So that was from the jump. We realized like, oh, there's a little bit of power in this to be able to either highlight something great or highlight a challenge that the community is facing, especially if there's another partner involved.
Right. It's not meant to necessarily call anybody out or cause grief. It's about communication. Key, a minute ago, you mentioned, when we hired you part-time. When we were struggling with communication at the city, we have an executive team, and I pitched this to the executive team. I think we need to hire somebody part-time and this and that. And they all pushed back. No, we're good. I said, no, I'm the CEO. I'm overruling you. Budget for a part-time guy. we have to figure it out because there are no secrets at the city of Tehachapi Maya, right? Sorry. We need to be transparent because we are. What we're doing is important work. It's important work. Public safety, infrastructure, all those things that we talk about. We have a role to play. Let's make sure we play that role.
Yeah.
And we do it well.
And I think so much of it hit, as Keith pointed out. I mean, we did our first episode and then it was like COVID like a few weeks later. Mm-hmm. And so you look back at, and that was an opportunity, and you look back at even some of the downloads, some of those shows, it was confusing. Mm-hmm. I still don't understand half the stuff that we had to necessarily do. And then when we were reopening and the restrictions and the levels of colors we had in the county and all this stuff. I mean, and I had, I'd taken plenty of phone calls from business owners about that stuff, but to kind of explain that to people as it came down, this was a tool because we didn't have necessarily in-person meetings and that sort of thing. So that really helped, especially on the business side, understand just what the heck was going on.
And I know, Key, you have been training others. The city of Tehachapi again took a leadership role. I'm very proud of this. I don't mean it to brag, but the reality is that we took a leadership role in communications. And I know there are other unnamed cities and counties and regions around us that have sought you out and have asked for your advice, asked to be trained, come to this room. How do you do what you do? Because people are listening to you, and that's the ultimate,
It's quite a compliment.
It is.
And I feel really good about that and happy to help any entity that reaches out. But I think, it's something that, and it starts from you, Greg, allowing my department to have the freedom to go and create the messaging in these different formats that we do to reach as many of our constituents as possible. And that's the ultimate goal. And I think the other cities and counties, they have looked at that and go, why don't you have the negativity that we do on our different different platforms? Mm-hmm. Why? I go, because we share information as it happens. Mm-hmm. We are a news organization, in essence, focused on getting City of Tehachapi information out to everyone that lives here. And I think that's because it's remained our focus. It's allowed us to be successful. Those agencies start to look and go, they're doing something right. And then they start looking at all the other things that we do right up here. Mm-hmm. And then they start to emulate our other departments. But it's been over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, it's been a work in progress to now. I appreciate, them reaching out and getting to share what we do.
For sure. And, we talk about city information, but also I think we received an award for CHP, right? Public safety. We're more than willing and more than happy to share other people's messages if we can help that move along to get that information into the public's heads.
Yeah. And it's also, we have a fairly open process as well. I mean, especially on the government side, there's always 14 layers of approval before you can release a press release. I can't imagine what a podcast would be like. And so
true.
So be able to do that to like Keith's point quickly. He copied us. The governor has copied us.
So what? He should send us a little thank you note.
You know what?
Right? I'm waiting for that note in the mail.
He went through the list of cities in California that have podcasts, and he was like, boom. And so he went and copied us after that. But, it was the fact that we're able to do it quickly and get it out, and Greg doesn't have to listen to it beforehand or read it beforehand. Obviously, there's a certain level of trust.
Well, and we turn some people down. There's a lot of people, Maya, that want to come on this podcast. I'm like, that's not really relevant. We want to keep. We're government, right? We're not, a public or a private corporation. Mm-hmm. You could do what you want, right? We have a set of rules.
Yeah.
And when we use taxpayer dollars, we have to use them wisely and appropriately.
And we have a different business model. We're not looking to we don't need 20,000 downloads a show so we can attract advertisers. That's not our goal. I know Key gets, publicists email him all the time. Hey, some of my clients wrote this book and he should be on your podcast. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of a blanket email they send out to every podcast. But that's not our business model because it's hyper local to Tehachapi. And if it's a couple hundred downloads a show, that's fine because we're not looking to, attract advertisers and pay like most podcasts do.
We've never been in the revenue business.
No.
I've said that for years and years and years. Not just the podcasting, but the business that we're in. We're not in the revenue business.
Well, I always look for what's the nexus to Tehachapi. Mm-hmm. And then where does City Tehachapi, Greater Tehachapi fit into this equation? So we've had guests, Rio Tinto, Pacific Steel most recently. Hydrostore. Oh, not Pacific Steel. Maybe they'll be coming on a future episode. But Hydrostore, Edwards Air Force Base, the Kern Economic Development Council with Richard Chapman. We've looked to those because it's about what affects our quality of life, and then they employ our residents. So what they do matters to our community. So we look at those things, and then we look at things like TCTA, the community theater. And I'm really excited when they had problems during COVID with people not being able to gather, is trying to figure out how to promote to keep them alive so they could pay their bills and get ready when they were going to reopen, that the money that they had saved that was kind of paying certain bills, they had some startup money. And we were able to promote and help sell out shows. And we haven't missed promoting one of their shows since the reopening of COVID. So I'm really proud of that.
Especially with the upcoming Enchanted April starring our very own
Maya Acosta.
And it's all thanks to this podcast.
I know. We called you out on that podcast, right? Like, you need to be, on stage. And then we turned around twice, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm on stage.
I have to leave early. I have rehearsal."
Yeah.
We're like, wait, what?
I kind of dared Maya on air during the TCTA podcast.
You did?
And just said, Maya, you going to audition? She goes, I just might. And then all of a sudden, not only was it I just might, but she got the part. So
Can't wait.
Yeah. All thanks to this platform. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't be dared on air and not follow through.
That's right.
that's exactly right.
Yeah, I have a laundry list of things I was dared to do on air that I completed years ago. So, it's never. Sometimes it's never good, but this is a great one.
Yes.
Before I get too far, and I want to talk about some of the awards. We've received several, just very gracious from all these different entities that have recognized us. But before we do, the name Tehachapod. Let's remind everybody where this came from. We issued a contest internally to city staff to come up with a name. Do you remember?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had two public works employees. They probably teamed up together.
Yeah.
And it was with Brian and Bernie submitting the name Tehachapod. We went through, I think there was like 75 or so submissions. There was a
Decent
lot
list,
of different
yeah.
names. Almost every single staff member participated. And Tehachapod was chosen, and everyone loves it.
Unanimously. It was like, once you read the list, you're like, that's the one.
Yep.
Everyone said,
Well,
that's
they
the
were
one.
all
That's the one.
good, but this
Yeah.
one was unique.
It stood out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the it factor.
Yeah, it sure did.
So we wouldn't be here without Bernie and Brian.
Without Bernie and Brian, those two characters right there, right? Well, as we look back, going back 6 seasons now, so the first 5 have been recognized 14 times by different entities for different podcasting awards. So, and each of those has different episodes. So we've got lots of highlights, but since these won awards, let's touch base on those a little bit, and then maybe we can kind of fill in the blanks to finish, because we don't want to go on too long. But we definitely, I think, we should recognize, because these had meaning in the community, and some of these episodes came from the community as an idea. We sought the guest, and then when we were done, we go, they were right. So, we started off with PSPS and putting Southern California Edison on blast, if you will. And that was recognized as one of the top podcast episodes, back in 2020.
Yeah. And that one was an important one because it was, again, one of those new things. Like, what the heck's going on? My power's being shut off. I'm not being told. And what do I do about medical equipment? What do I do? And so it was all kinds of things. And then, eventually they came to the table and came on the show and explained, like, we were wrong and we kind of messed this up. And here's our new process moving forward. Thanks to you all.
And that episode also was acknowledged because with that, we took questions from the community. They emailed them into us. So we had a series of questions to ask Edison, and they answered every single one. And they took ownership for their failures.
And we appreciate that.
Yeah. And then since then, our relationship has been outstanding. But that was another episode, the follow-up, if you will, that also was recognized for another top episode, community-oriented episode. And we had Nick Cullen, who was just recently in. Maya, you had him as a guest.
Yeah.
Nick's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's the director of our animal services for the county of Kern. He is our animal control department. And Corey and I had a chance to interview him. It was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And Nick was a great interview. He's kind of a character.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he started off as a boots on the ground. He drove a truck around and he would catch those that were the feral dogs and cats that were running the neighborhoods. So he understands at the boot level how to run his department. Has worked his way all the way through.
Nick is a jewel. I really admire and respect his leadership and his understanding and his ability to get things done. And I think boots on the ground, moving up, that's very important. And I don't know how much Kern County pays him, but I can tell you what, he earns every nickel of it, and he should be paid more. He just just really facilitates efficiency and compassion in that world.
And looks for new ways to do it, not just saying, hey, we have animals available for adoption. He's got these programs. He talked to Maya and I about it last time. Hey, you can take a dog home for the weekend and just see how the dog or cat fits. And then there's also these, they have these take them out for a day down in Bakersfield and just, again, see how it all goes. And they know these programs will kind of build that instead of just walking through the shelter saying, okay, that one's cute. It's more about trying to make a connection. So they've created some other programs to connect people to their adoption services and their spay-neuter clinics and all the things that they do.
Right, and their relationships with all the nonprofits. Tehachapod, we're very blessed with a lot of nonprofits that help with animals, and we appreciate that. But he just does just a splendid job.
And we did another episode, and it wasn't award-winning, but we had a puppy that would not leave Corey's lap.
Yep. The dog, dogs love me.
It was a service dog in training, little lab.
Yeah.
And locally it was being trained, and we were doing an episode to highlight that organization, the Canine Companions.
Yep.
And you didn't want to let the puppy go.
No, and it's like, it's one of those things, they're being trained, so you can't baby them like you normally would with a puppy. So it's like you had to, pet it the right way because you didn't want it to get too comfortable. But I'm like, if this thing don't work out, you can take it. I'll take it home. But those are the fun ones when they, bring in. Every time Nick comes, I was like, can you bring dogs? Like next time, bring dogs. Like let's get some dogs in here.
We need to interview somebody that has something to do with food.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Your
Bring some food in.
smorgasbord, or some desserts or something. Somebody needs something, right?
I mean,
we have a cake today, so we're setting the standard.
We do have a
moving
500
forward.
cake.
Thank you to Albertsons for the cake.
Yes.
But,
very cool.
I'm thinking about, food.
That's right.
Finger food is the best food.
And something that Maya has brought with Maya's background from TV news is the video aspect that we have.
And we're videoing today.
Yes, that's what I want to go to. Is we've got our first couple episodes that we've done. The goal is that this meets the mustard, and we'll be able to air the video version of this to go along with the audio portion. So it's something new that we're adding to the portfolio.
And I think you had to wait 500 episodes because of me. Because of the editing. We don't edit. But, sometimes I just, whatever. So like I'm doing right now, right?
But it's good. It's good for the clips, too.
I had to get more comfortable, with the mic and this and now the camera. And,
it's good for the clips, too. I mean, there are folks that will watch, certain platforms like Spotify have the video available as you're listening. Some people will watch that, but it's really the promotional side to put that 30-second clip on social media and then, the kind of promo, so to speak, for the episode, and then link them to the download to get people kind of interested. They maybe thought about that topic, but they see it in their feed, and then they want to come download and hear the whole conversation.
Maya, what's the workload like? Does it add a lot?
It does. Yes, it does. I'm still figuring things out right now. Something with the recording and in the video file itself, they don't quite sync up. So I have to go in and about every 30 seconds manually move the audio and video to sync up again. So it's a challenge. But
there's always the weekends.
I say that
all day. And I say that a lot to all the employees. There's always the weekends.
I feel Maya's pain because I had that same problem years ago doing a video show we were doing for the Californian, and I would get the file and it wouldn't sync. And so I'd have to move and this was an hour-long show. You had to move the audio, and it was, that way it didn't look like a dubbed-over movie. And so you're having, it's painstaking.
Yeah, so if you're watching the video version right now and things look a little off.
That's Maya's fault.
Maya fell asleep with the switch on that one.
Yeah. But the whole talk of the promotion and these clips, Greg, you need to say something crazy so that we can clip this and post it, and then everybody will want to go watch.
I'm sure I will before the end of the day.
That's right. That's right.
We'll have something.
You know me.
We'll have something for his outtake reel for his retirement.
Oh, yes.
I have my retirement. What do you mean? What?
We collect those. Our file grows.
I have a serious bad habit of saying what I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
The outtake videos too. Those are also be included. So the little outtakes of the videos. Mine are mostly swear words after I mess it up, but
I can't wait. But
usually one take.
I'll wait.
I'm usually one take though, but on occasion,
whatever.
I'll slip up.
The ego. How does the ego get through the door?
Maya and I have an agreement. Every time we come back and shoot a video, I'm like, one take, right?
Right.
Yeah,
One take.
Yep, one take.
Just so you know, Maya, that's been the long-standing. Before you were here, it's always been one take.
Yeah.
But that helped us all get better because then we would try to really get it done in one take to make sure we could legitimately brag about one take.
Speaking of one take, the In and Out video, that was one take.
I think that was one take.
Yeah,
Was it really? I watched that the other day. It was so great.
See, it's still. You know what? I haven't looked at the.
And it was award winning too.
Yeah.
I believe.
Well, the episode had a huge amount of followers or downloads on that because we did a podcast talking about after the video went viral.
Yeah.
And I still have people talking to me about that.
It was close to 1 million downloads.
Yeah.
And it went out all over the country.
Yeah. No, I got calls from New Hampshire. Like there was a news station that called in New Hampshire.
It was so fun, but it was also serious economic development.
Yeah.
We have a relationship with In and Out
Yes,
now,
because of
right?
that video. They actually they went through their corporate. We're on their radar now, and I think California's made it hard to develop new stores in the state. That's why they've looked elsewhere. But
that's why Gavin Newsom started a podcast to try to figure out how to get people
Bring 'em
to
back.
start investing in our state again.
But
I sent that video to Lindsay, the owner, the CEO of, through my Instagram. I sent it to her.
Yeah.
She never responded, but
no,
she's got people.
The
that do
real
stuff.
estate contacts let me know. Like I sent this out throughout the company, and they're wildly entertained by your approach. So it hasn't quite landed a location yet, but it put us on the radar a little bit. And now when they remember us because of that video. And so hopefully we're still near the top.
So
of the
when
list.
when we get an In and Out, that's when I retire. And we'll have the In and
Your
Out
work
truck
is done.
come to my, right?
That's
We'll
right.
serve In and Out burgers at my retirement party.
And that all came, I think it was from Oakland.
Oakland shut
Northern
down.
Cal.
Yeah, they were requiring in Alameda County vaccination checks at the door, and that In and Out said no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to check vax cards just to come in and get a double, and so they were shut down. Ultimately, they closed that location and another location because of crime. But during that time, when they got shut down by the health department, that's when we decided to kind of jump on it and take
so I
advantage.
know In and Out's listening right now. I just
Of
know
course.
they will be, and
I'll
so
send
just
it
so
off
they
to
know
them.
we're the safest city in Kern.
And every time they close a location for that reason, I will remind them of that, and I'll let them know, like, hey, you may serve a few, less customers than you would in a super urban era. However, your overhead for, damages, vandalism, theft, employee safety, that was a big part of their issues in Oakland, was employee safety. Getting them from when the place closed to their cars was an issue because of the homelessness and the crime they had in their location. And so I was like, just to remind you, like from a corporate liability standpoint, we're pretty low on that. So yeah, I try to use those every time we can. And the video definitely helped.
And then we received some other additional awards, public safety minded, with one with the Tehachapi Police Department talking about community oriented policing and catching up with TPD.
Right.
That was recognized for an impactful episode to a community. Also, CHP with public safety.
we talked about that.
We had some fatal accidents in some of the unincorporated county, and we asked Aaron Maurer to come up from Mojave CHP, who services this area. And that episode was also recognized for community involvement. So they're pretty proud of those. And obviously when we start talking about PSPS, animal services, your police department, we've had the fire department in, those are all, it's all community driven, just to open up the ears and let people pay attention to what's going on in the community so they know what their Tehachapi police officers are doing, what the goal is, what the mission is. And we kind of followed through with that when we had General Higer from Edwards Air Force Base. Yep. He was then the new base commander. He came in with our Salute to Freedom episode. And that was, again, it was powerful listening to this general talk about the men and women in the United States Air Force, the civilian support staff, the mission of the base. He didn't want to talk about his career. He wanted to talk about the men and women and the mission at Edwards.
A super humble guy, over the top smart, the Edwards Air Force Base, they add so much value to not just our economy, 6, 7, 8 billion a year, I think, or more, but what they do, what they create, what they test, what they're doing to protect the United States of America and basically the world, the free world, is amazing. And he was so, I've known General Higer for some time now, and he's so humble. That's the best part. He's just a humble guy, and he wants to help facilitate and empower people to do the right thing.
I think on that episode too, we had we had, I think, State Senator Grove, at the time, Congressman McCarthy, myself, everyone kind of read a piece of the Declaration of Independence, which was cool. You really haven't,
remember that.
Everyone knows kind of the beginning, but really dig into it. There's a lot of stuff in the Declaration of Independence. So that was cool to read that as
More
part of our
people
4th
need
of
to
July.
read it and comprehend it.
And connect it to why, and why we are built the way we're built. So, yeah, that was a very cool. And I really enjoy the episodes, too, that when we get an opportunity for people to kind of tell their story as to how they got here, the backgrounds. We had a great one with Bob Souza when he talked about starting the wine
man.
industry. Just the wine guy. And just talking about that. And that was great. And we had one a couple years back, Sarah Frost with the Tehachapi Flower Shop. Again, how'd you get here? And really talking about stories and even some, war stories, so to speak, in the flower industry. And the favorite story is when she talked about when she was in the Midwest and the town she was in happened to have a gentleman's club, let's call it that. And the amount of flower orders she would have to fill and deliver to the gentleman's club.
For Crystal.
Yes, exactly. And it was a major part of her business, and she just laughed every time she did it. But, to have those types of things and those types of stories and allow people an opportunity not just to talk about their business or their initiative, but how they got there. Mine, I had one the other day. It'll be out this week at some point with Martha Perez, who owns Jersey Mike's. Like, how did she get into Tehachapi, and how did she get into the game of being a franchisee, and what started there. So very fascinating background to get to this point. So it's cool to really tell those stories and hear people to have a little more time than they would in like a television interview or even in a feature written in a newspaper to actually talk in their own voice about who they are and how they got to, being the person they are.
Now, where does Tehachapi's water come from? Another award-winning episode. We had Don Marsh. I think we had Jay Schlosser on that, and we talked about the water here in our basin, where it comes from. It was another one of those that we pull subject matter experts from our departments to come in and talk about the things that they do to help educate the community. And that was another episode that was recognized for, what it was, the content for the community.
Yeah, educating people on resources, who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we get that resource, right? It doesn't just, you turn on the tap and it's not just there.
Yeah, and a little inside baseball in that episode. I think that was probably the episode that got us some investment in equipment, because we had so many people in studio in our old, Key and I's former radio gear we had laying in garages. There was some audio issues with that episode, so I think that was the one that was like, okay.
So you tricked me into
this is how it always works. Yes,
to get now
you can get you can get away with kind of nickel and diming it for a while, and then when it does impact quality, and then that kind of got us some investment in real equipment.
Whatever it takes.
So if you go back and listen to that one, if you didn't listen before, we apologize for the audio issues, the hum I think that was in, because we had split the mics like 4 different ways to get people all on our podcast, and you can only split audio so much.
Well, we used to allow, on occasion, we would allow people Zoom or phone call. I know we did that with Congressman McCarthy once, maybe, and a couple others.
That was our first phone guest.
He called my cell, and I had to Bluetooth it into the board. It was like we were set up 2 different ways.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden my cell phone rings and it's Congressman McCarthy in the backseat of a town car in Washington, D.C. I got 10 minutes for you. You got time? So let's do it.
Yeah. And we had, I still have that photo. It was just, we had so many wires running. Now the equipment's great. We can Bluetooth things directly to the board, directly to the console. But then we had so many wires, and I had old stuff from old remote broadcasts that you'd click into, the phone, the tabletop set, and then into your cell phone. And we managed to make it work. Sounded pretty good too.
We don't really like to do that. We will make it. I mean, if a congressman calls us, we're going to take the call. Right?
Absolutely. If Congressman Fong calls,
we used to be in
we'll
a
be there.
smaller, little, tiny office with, like you said, this equipment.
It was Key's desk.
Now we've moved into a dedicated communication center, right? This is the media brain center of the city of Tehachapi with Key, Maya, Jessica, and Jane. It's amazing.
Now, you mentioned Congressman McCarthy. He's been on the show once. We have Senator Grove 3 or 4 times.
I think she's I think she's the leader in the clubhouse on appearances.
And now Congressman Fong, he started off on the show as Assemblyman Fong.
Right. That's right.
And he's been in 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And always a great conversation, easy to talk with, and delivers exactly what you ask him a question. He doesn't go into, I don't want to say routine politician mode, where they go off and they give the 10 bullet points that they wanted to to share at some point. He answers your questions.
Yeah,
directly.
you don't get the politician vibe. Like, it's hard
Right.
for me to call him Congressman Fong. I just want to call him Vince, you
Right.
know, like my friend Vince, because that's where you get out of him, you know, and you get a pretty well-educated and straight answer too. I mean, he's an incredibly smart man. I think they're starting to realize that in Washington, D.C., and I think we're going to see him elevate, not for political aspirations, but because he has a lot of value in Congress, because he's, especially coming from California, he has a great understanding of a lot of things that impact the nation that started here in California. So I think we're seeing that with him. And again, it's not politically motivated, just because they realize he's really smart and educated and knows what he's talking about.
Well, Key, you bring up politics. You know, one of the rules we have, probably the only rule we have, is this is not a political
Right.
podcast, right? We're interviewing the politicians that represent the city of Tehachapi,
Right.
I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or somewhere in between or neither or nor or here, far left, far right. It's about what's happening in our world. It has nothing to do with being a platform for any sort of politics at all. That's my only rule.
Right. They are our elected officials.
And people have tried to call me out on, well, why did you have this guy? Why did you have this? Because they are the elected official. That's the only reason. The only reason.
And every time we get Senator Grove, she always says that. I'll try not to get too political, and then she just goes into Shannon Grove mode, which is why people elect her to do what she's doing in Sacramento, because she does have that sort of love-hate relationship with the governor, so to speak. I mean, they do talk, and and so anyway, she will be real, and then she tries to sometimes tone it down. Every time, okay, I'm gonna be good this time, but she's addressing the issues that her constituents have brought forward and her challenges that she has in Sacramento.
That's right. And, Maya, I think on this podcast, 3 or 4 or 5, 10 times, I've invited Gavin Newsom. And I will do it again.
You should.
He is our governor.
He is our governor.
And he's a fellow podcaster now.
He is.
And
Yep.
we will, we don't like it phone or Zoom, but we'll pack this whole thing up and go to Sacramento and interview
That's
him
right.
there if he'd like.
We can go to the French Laundry.
Key.
Is that too political?
I want to, hey, everybody's got to eat.
That's right. That's right.
But I've been beating up on some of the state lawmakers about visiting Mojave Spaceport. Right, that's a big deal. That's where the private industry is creating, designing, and testing aerospace and space.
That thing that just went up and rescued those astronauts, it was developed out there.
There are lots of, and I'm sure every community has, their wants and, I know they do, right? Wants and wishes. I want a piece of Mr. Newsom. I want this, I want that. Well, but I think there's some things that you really need to engage with. And I think Tehachapi has the Kern County, between the ag and the oil and the aerospace and the mining and the tourism and, stop me now. We are blessed. With so many industries. And I think this is, command central for what's going on in our state, right? We have so many things going on. And now with people being able to telecommute, work from home, all those different things, we're seeing, our age is going down. What's it called? The
demographics getting younger.
demographic. We're getting younger, not me, of course, but we're getting younger, and we're also becoming more affluent, right? And so Tehachapi is a success story because we work together
Yep.
and we communicate with each other, which is so important.
So that invite is out there. It's out there again.
Right.
Invite to the governor to come on Tehachapod.
Maybe I'll send him a card.
You should.
I should.
Yeah.
And since we did mention the French Laundry, we do weekly talk about things that go on here in Tehachapi, a show that originally I hosted 2 years ago. It shifted over into the correct host's seat. And Maya, you've taken over that. You've got Claire Scotty that joins you, but that's your show. And great job. You deliver that every Thursday.
Yeah, thanks. That was my first foray into the podcast. And yeah, it helped, I think, get me comfortable with the podcast as a whole and the host role. And it's fun. I enjoy always, talking about what's going on for the weekend. My boyfriend gives me a hard time. He says, I can never take you on a date or anything because you already know what's happening and you say...
Can't surprise you.
Yeah. But yeah, it's always fun talking to Claire. And it impresses me every week how much is going on in town between the wineries and breweries to just different organizations in town. the VFW doing karaoke till 1 a.m. every weekend.
I didn't hear about that. We got to make that happen.
Do they have a permit?
I need to make that happen.
You're making it happen. I'm taking.
I'm
permit.
a karaoke guy.
But like the library.
Yeah.
I mean, just on and on and on. And I'll encourage the listener, if they have something that is community oriented, to let Maya know so that we can get it. It's kind of like a community calendar, Key.
It is. Yeah, that was the goal. And you guys have taken it to another level. Claire and I started it, and it was every Thursday. You add a lot more personality and flair to it than I could.
Sure.
So it's the show has definitely grown. But I appreciate all the effort you put in. It hits every Thursday. It lands. Consistency. That's the one thing we know. Every Thursday, we're going to release an episode that tells the community what's happening in Tehachapi that weekend.
Yep.
Unlike my eye on the Capitol, who I'm kind of slacking. I haven't had one.
I forgot about that.
The problem is it's been so chaotic, let's just say, at the federal level in the last couple months. I just don't know where to start.
And that's an episode that Corey hosts, and just to keep us updated with things that impact our region.
Mostly state, there's some federal stuff worked in, but and the state legislature just started their session. And so there's, you're at the point right now where there are thousands of bills being introduced. And it's like, okay, what? And we do have some tools now through AI to figure out what actually has a shot of probably passing. So we're overdue for an update on that. But that's just a, hey, what's happening in the state legislature? It's going to trickle down and impact your lives. You're not blindsided by new legislation.
Well, trying to stay, we're pushing that 30-minute. We've a little over 30 minutes. I don't want to stay on too long bragging about ourselves, but 500 is a big number. Over 100,000 downloads that are recordable. That doesn't include the video watches through YouTube and other entities. It's just, I'm just wowed by it. So I want to say thank you as my partners, and Ashley in the missing seat right here, that between the five of us, we're able to host and talk to the community and deliver them information on a consistent basis that is directly for them. So I'm really proud of it. I think Tehachapod, will long, hopefully stay on the air beyond my retirement here at the city of Tehachapi whenever that day comes. But I
one bad day, right, Keith?
It's one bad day.
One bad day away. He reminds us.
One bad day. But we I think it's in good hands. The community expects it, and I think that between having now regular episodes with TBRPD and find out what's going on with parks, the Chamber of Commerce on a monthly basis, TCTA, the Friends of the Depot, we've really, between finding out what's the new projects, where the new asphalt's coming, the different things going on at the city government level, we also have embraced the community with our nonprofits, community events, promoting all of those as well.
It's the new sort of, community radio station. I guess years ago cities would sometimes buy a small band FM station, and then they would sell an hour to the Quilters Union or whatever it might be. And this is that, but obviously more deliverable than terrestrial radio. And then hosts are very important, because when you have people come in and do their hour and they're doing it themselves, it's sometimes the energy's not there. And so we kind of guide those conversations now with this, but it is really that kind of new way of doing your community radio, is to have this podcast platform and then be able to seek these groups out for promotion, storytelling, whatever that might be.
Well, the platform is perfect because you listen to it on your own time.
Yeah.
Right. You might have a favorite AM or FM DJ or whatever, but you can only listen to them when you have that time, and when you're working for a living, or when you have kids or school, or life, right? Life happens. You can download an episode and listen to it early in the morning, late at night, when you're working out, when you're drinking wine. I don't know, it's just super convenient.
Yeah, it's definitely replaced. I mean, I'm a terrestrial radio veteran, and it has replaced the podcast platform. I don't even listen to terrestrial radio anymore, and I worked in that industry.
So you're a part of the downfall.
Exactly. Well, and Maya can attest to this. I mean, she was at the National Association of Broadcasters, I think last year. I went a couple years before, and I used to go when it was really a radio/television kind of convention, and you get to see all the new gear and the widgets that they have out. But the transition has been away from that. It is now into the digital media, podcasting, video production, that sort of thing, because that's really the the area that the media is going to. There's still a small representation of that terrestrial radio and TV, but most of it has gone into this realm.
So now I'm going to challenge us. What's the next step? Right? We've talked about this before many times, actually. I'm always trying to challenge us, playing the devil's advocate. But beyond this, how do we communicate better with the citizens? Maybe I'll ask the citizens, how do we communicate better with you? Let me know.
Yeah.
Because I'm all ears.
media@TehachapodCityHall.com. So adding the video is kind of the next thing. We're still in the infancy of that, but I really think that'll be the next thing, and then dare I announce it?
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
do I know about this?
Probably not. Hold on.
Yeah. I do not micromanage. You know that.
No, but you did issue a challenge reminder as you put it on our calendars. The newscast.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So we're gonna start with a monthly newscast that kind of recaps the past month and talks about things coming up. So we're looking to launch that if all goes right next week, March 31st, April 1st. It's not an April Fool's joke.
Nice.
Yeah, and podcasting makes that it's easier to do that now. I mean, producing audio news used to be a chore. Now it's all. I mean, I had a job where I literally had to fire my own sound bites, and they were on what they called them carts, but they're basically 8 tracks. And so I would have to read the news and then fire my own sound. And the boss one day said, "Hey, can you get further away from the machine? I can hear it clicking on and off." And I'm like, I can only go as far as my arms will reach here and tell you and those types of things. These days, it's all with all the digital tech, it makes it so much easier.
So newscast. So it made official when I put it on your calendar.
Yeah.
So
once you hit that
week,
challenge.
Okay. So next week we have our first.
Next week,
and it's no April Fool's, so we're gonna have a newscast.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I be the champ kind on sports?
Nice?
Gosh, here
Gus
we
goes
go
back
again.
and whammy.
Challenging us with something on air, and now I have to follow through.
That's right. You gotta do
That's
it.
right.
But we've talked about Tehachapi high school students or just students in general. I don't want to categorize anybody, but having them participate, maybe learn a little, because it's all about the next generation, right? And so, like I said earlier, there's more to do than we have done.
Yeah, and they're so technically savvy. It's amazing. I mean, we were in a generation. We had to learn to grow into this technology, but they've grown up with this technology, and so
There'll be something.
it'll be great. Like I think there'll be some great talent out there, people that already know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So
Well, Maya, before we go, any favorite memories here in the last 2 years?
Oh man,
Choose your words carefully.
it's really just been such a great learning opportunity. I mean, I came from working in the news industry, and that's what I loved most about that industry is getting to meet all the different people and tell their story. And here is that forum that I'm able to do that again. So I'm very appreciative to be part of all of this. Sorry, I'm getting choked up. But man, I don't know if I can think of anything specifically aside from basically now I've committed my whole life to the theater right now, thanks to this podcast.
Well,
that's been huge.
The best part of it, though, is between whether it was the videos we did before or the podcast now, it just cracks me up. And this usually happens with younger people, but they'll see like myself, Greg, Key, Maya, and they're like, "Oh, you guys have you're those podcast hosts." We're like, "Well, we have another job." That is,
Yeah, I always get, "Oh, you're the Facebook lady."
yes, exactly. You're like, true, but we have another job that is what we really do, and this is we just communicate what we do. So that's funny when we hear that.
Oh yeah.
But the real work is well, it's all real work, but the other work is in a different room, but
Right.
we're able to share that work in this room, which is equally as important.
Yep.
Right?
I think the podcast, in a way, is water cooler talk, if you will, where we'll pull in, whether it's Don Marshall, Public Works Director, or Jay Schlosser, Development Services Director, Greg, Corey, myself, or Ashley, or the Chief of Police. Things that we would talk about in the hallway in passing, we could talk about here because it's relevant to the community. So it's become that, and I always talk about having the open chair. So today the open chair is for Ashley, but it also represents the community. So at this table that seats 5, there's usually an empty seat. And I always try to take, if I'm hosting, that I'm thinking about that empty seat, the community. What's a question they might have? I might know the answer to it, but I don't need to ask it, but I do it on behalf of the community. So it's just kind of a conversations that will take place on a daily basis here at City Hall that we're able to share.
Well said.
Yep.
Well, with that, anything in closing?
Nope. I think you covered it.
500 episodes.
I would like to say that I sincerely appreciate everybody in this room and beyond. It has been, it has grown beyond my wildest dreams. It's an amazing communication tool, and I just, I don't know, I'm getting more emotional the older I get. I don't know what's going on.
This is the video you should use, Maya.
Here's the clip.
But it's true. I'm just so proud. I'm so proud of our team and how hard we work and how dedicated and truthful and honest and just doing the right thing day in and day out. It's amazing the people that I have surrounded myself with.
Yeah,
It's a great team.
it is. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us. This has been a momentous occasion to celebrate, and I'm just glad to be part of it. It came in, I don't know, at episode 350, 400, something like that. But still, it's just been an amazing process, and I'm glad to be able to do this every day. So thanks for joining and recapping all of this. My gosh, I don't think we really got too in the weeds with all these episodes, but hopefully this provides some more insight to listeners about what it is that we do and why we do it, and how we plan to keep doing this for, I don't know, years to come.
Yeah.
Well, here's
As long
the
as it
challenge.
makes sense.
Is if you're listening to this episode, download one of the previous. I know that I've looked at the analytics, and whenever we have an episode, I will see the ones previous to that are downloaded. So people are digesting the one. Hey, I like it. Let's catch the next one, and we see that ones that we produced back in 2020 are being downloaded now in 2025, 6 years later. So pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And people are downloading them around the globe.
Yeah.
And I think we're finding is most of those people are from Tehachapi, or interested in Tehachapi, whatever, maybe military, so on and so forth. But it's quite amazing that, around the world.
Yep, we have a worldwide reach, and
There you go.
our catalog is, will live for years to come. And exactly as you said, you can go back to 2020 and hear how we started, maybe compare the sound quality if you would like.
Yeah, you could.
But I want to do some digging and find some pictures of the early stages as well. So I hope to post that on our social media.
Well, I
when
found
get this.
the video. I sent it to you, Keith, the video of the very first podcast with the three of us.
In this
right?
room,
Oh,
but
man.
a conference
In this
table, and it was a
room.
conference room.
And I watched it. It was like just a couple of minutes long. I laughed. I'm like, no way. Those are ding dongs. They didn't even know what is going on. I'm like,
They'll never make it
how
to
did
500
how
episodes.
did I let them even convince me to do this, But here we
Yep,
are.
That's right.
But here we are.
Here we are.
History in the making. Well, thank you all for joining us today. And thanks everybody for listening. If you have, I don't know, maybe a favorite episode that you want to share with us, or a question or comment about anything that we talked about, be sure to email us, media@tehachapiCityHall.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions and get those sent to the right place. And again, thanks for tuning in. We hope to catch you back here next time on Tehachapod.